Hello and welcome to the Soccerlens Show. I'm Andy Brassell and Happy New Year to you all. Of course, we've had our little winter break like most of the European leagues have, with Britain being the exception to that. We had Spain, La Liga, coming back already this weekend, and we'll have a little look at that a bit later. We've got the Portuguese league coming up next weekend. They had a bit of cup action to warm them up this weekend. Serie A in Italy starts this Wednesday, and then you've got Germany and France to follow later in the month again after a little cup warm-up. But we're going to start with the English Premier League, and of course the FA Cup third round this weekend, so a bit of a break from the Premier League. A shock result with Leeds winning at Manchester United, but this little pause in the Premier League action itself giving us opportunity to think about what the teams might do in the transfer window, of course that having just opened, and we're going to have a little look at what the top six might need if they're to move forward in the second half of the campaign, starting from the bottom up with Aston Villa, Manchester City and Spurs. Now I think these are the three of the top six that are probably the less liable to strengthen. I think Villa were in a similar position last year, and obviously they had a very poor campaign in the second half of the season. They were in the Champions League spots at this point, and then they lost their captain, Martin Laus, an inspirational player who in the end his injury caused him to have to retire. They've replaced him excellently with Richard Dunn, but you know, you wonder if something were to happen to him, have they got the cover? It's difficult to find another player of similar quality and experience who would cope with being second choice. But that's a dilemma they're sort of faced with. Elsewhere the squad's very good. The fact that they can bring on the likes of John Carew as substitute and they can rotate their forwards shows how far they've come in terms of strength and depth. I think Spurs again have an excellent squad. The riches they've got in forwards and midfield I think are particularly impressive, and it shows what a great job Harry Redknapp's done in his year or so in charge, that he's managed to balance a squad that he himself said was terribly unbalanced when he arrived at White Hart Lane. So I think very unlikely to have any transfer activity going on there. Still not too happy with the two full-backs positions, but nevertheless I don't think it's something that's going to stop them from challenging for that Champions League spot that they so desperately want this season. Now another rival for that, Manchester City, of course, perhaps they could do with a bit of time as well without signing players to bed in what they've bought already in this incredible last 18 months. I suppose the one area they would want to improve is in defence. They've got comfortably the worst defence of the top six, but of course since Roberto Mancini has taken over, they've not conceded a goal in three. A terrific start for him, and tightening up at exactly where he wanted to in the team. Of course we can't judge too much on this because they've not faced the hardest opposition so far, arguably, but nevertheless I think there was always the feeling that he had some good players there, the likes of Micah Richards, Kolo Touré, good players to play in front as well, like De Jong, Barry and Vincent Kompany, who can of course play at centre back as well. So perhaps they'll just stick with that little lot and reorganise what they've got. Now we're going to look at the top three, and I think they're liable to bring players in as they try to close out the little weaknesses, as these are the three main realistic strong contenders for the title. Now we're going to look through at players they might sign, and I'm going to put in a dark horse for each one of them who they might sign as a sort of surprise newbie as well. Starting with Arsenal, I think there are two clear areas for them. One, ever since Van Persie's been injured, they've been looking at a striker. My pick for that would be Loic Remy. I think he's an Arsenal style of player. The Nice forward, he's young, he can improve, he's only 23. Good pace, good control, he can play a bit as well. He can play out wide as he has done for the France under-21 team, and he's scored good goals over the last year and a half too. I think if we're looking at the midfield for them, they could do with someone who's strong but can pass the ball as well, someone like Fernando of Bordeaux, who's been closely linked with Genoa over the last couple of weeks, who could be pushed into service in a defensive position as well, as could Miguel Veloso of Sporting Lisbon, a fine passer of the ball who can distribute in the way that would be required in an Arsenal team. Now if we move on to Manchester United, I don't think we want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Of course they had a poor result against Leeds, but nevertheless the squad's looking pretty good, and the players they've brought in, like Luis Antonio Valencia, and Gabriel Oberton are improving all the time. Perhaps an extra striker could be what they're looking for. They've been linked with Edin Dzeko of Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg could be ready to sell, of course, with them having fallen out the Champions League, although it wouldn't be cheap, and Milan are also interested. Perhaps a little cheap option for them would be Nikola Zigic of Valencia, scoring the winner this weekend late on against Espanyol. He's not had much of a chance at Valencia since he made the move from Racing Santander. He had a great loan spell back at Racing and scored a lot of goals there. He's never let Valencia down. So I think the Serbian is a player who could do well in the Premier League. Of course, their ex-striker Ruud van Nistelrooy is someone who could be on the move as well. Not exactly a cheap option with a €134,000 a week salary, but nevertheless probably wouldn't cost a transfer fee. Arsenal, of course, been linked with him. Wenger said, well, perhaps with the history he has with Arsenal, it wouldn't be the best to come on Arsene. You have to get over it. How long ago was that? Which all leaves us with Chelsea, and again a very, very strong squad. We know they're well stocked in most positions. I think the two questions over their squad, apart from the African Cup of Nations thing, the first one is the fact that they have a fairly ageing squad, and this is something they have to bear in mind, particularly with the possibility of a transfer ban hanging over them. Good players who are key parts of the team in their 30s can go off the boil pretty quickly, so that's something they'll have to cover for. Also, I think they're really lacking a mystery player, someone to do something a bit magic. They've got solidity in spades, but you know, the player like Joe Cole, who of course is really struggling to get back to his best after his injury, that's something they could do with. I guess the obvious for them is Franck Ribéry. I think he would be excellent in the Premier League, a really dynamic sort of player. Perhaps a wild card would be his fellow Frenchman, Mathieu Valbuena, who's been made available by Olympique Marseille. Has been sporadically excellent for them over the last couple of seasons, but really fallen out of favour with Didier Deschamps, which is a shame. He's got good ability, he's strong on the ball despite his size, and can play either side or just behind the striker, so perhaps he'd be worth a punt. Now, perhaps Valbuena is even a player who'd be more suited to Spain, and the Spanish League is something that we started this weekend. It's as you were, with Barcelona and Real Madrid with 2 points between them, both drawing. Barcelona losing a lead against Villarreal at Camp Nou. It's the first time they've failed to collect maximum points this season, and Real Madrid failing to take advantage of that. They could have gone top, but they drew 0-0 at Osasuna. Now, I don't think we should be too harsh on either of these. Villarreal have improved a lot since the start of the season, and Osasuna is always a difficult place to go, although Real Madrid's lack of penetration, especially with the likes of Ronaldo and Benzema, was a little surprising. Of course, no Kaká, so perhaps he'll be back in next week to provide that extra thrust. Okay, well, thanks for joining us. You can catch up with my other stuff on www.alornothingtv.net. There'll be some new stuff up on that this week. You can hit me with your questions right here below this article, or on twitter.com/Andy Brassell. Lots of good games to look forward to this week, especially with the resumption of Serie A. Parma Juventus one to look out for, and the English League Cup semi-finals. So I hope you enjoy all those, and we'll see you again next week.